I'm gonna reconstruct my 22.33 mean at Singapore Champs 2024, which gave me national champ, and I also won the event overall, so that's pretty nice. Okay, so the first scramble looks like this. There are two bad edges on green front, four bad edges on red front, and six bad edges on white front. So it's a pretty easy scramble to start, and actually there were a lot of three move EOs and four move EOs on this one. So honestly, when I first started, I wasn't planning to actually check any RZP in 5 on this, but once I finished my entire like EO set, I realized like I did not have any good DR at all. So I went back to the three move EOs and I tried to find all the 5 to RZP from them. So this is what I found. So on red front normal, we have these four edges, which is a pretty simple three move EO. Just U prime, F prime to put everything here, and then R prime to solve the EO. And if you look at green DR, you see that it's 4C6E, but not set up to the trigger or anything, so I have to do some RZP stuff. So I see that these two, like this piece over here and this piece over here will work to form an RZP. So I did B2 and then U to do an RZP in 5, and I noticed that the resulting case is quite easy. This is now a 4E4C, and there's one pair here, and these two corners. So all I have to do is R2 to connect this corner here. Then this sets up this corner nicely to connect with this block, so D2. Now I have the two pairs, and all I have to do is position them over here, B2F, U prime, to get DR in 10 moves. And this is actually a 1 quarter turn DR, because if I do this, the corners are now in HDR, and like, so it's a pretty good DR, but the thing is it's not 4E4C, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's alright. So what I did was I did F to not reduce, to turn it back into a 2 quarter turn DR, but now it's 2 quarter turn 4E4C. Sorry, 2 quarter turn 4E2C. Two bad edges are here, and then these two. So if you do a D2, it creates like this pair, and this corner over here, and then L2 will create this long block, and then now I have this pair and this corner, D2, and F, U2, F prime, just do the HDR trigger, and we have HDR in 17 moves. And I didn't see any easy like leaf slice on green, but what I saw was if I just did B2, U2, that leaves me with the E slice centers in 19 moves. So I figured, if I could find a place to like cancel a lot of moves, then this could be a good solution. So then also the nice part about this is that I didn't have to like reverse this or anything. I could just set up this case and then undo whatever I wanted to insert, right? So that's quite convenient. So I was focusing on this sequence for a really long time, D2, R2, U prime, B2. So let me set that up for you. D2, R2, U prime, B2. So I was looking at this sequence as a white DR for a really long time, and I found that you can solve it in by adding 3 moves. So U2, D2, F2, and then U prime, D2, R2, U2. This adds 3 moves, so it gives me a 22. And actually, this is what I wrote down at first on my answer sheet. But then, within the last like 5 minutes or so, I noticed that this B2, D2, R2 thing forms like the blocky fish case, and I realized like, wait, there could be a potential for a shorter rewrite here. So, okay, so I set up the case, and then I do B2, D2, R2, U prime, and looking at the cube, indeed there is a way to solve this in just by adding 2 more moves. So if we connect this pair to this square first, that helps to solve this part of the E slice. So D prime, L2. Now the rest is pretty easy to do. D2, B2, U prime, D prime, and then Y2 to restore the orientation, which is you have to do, otherwise the back part doesn't work. And I didn't actually have enough time to like remove the Y2 from my solution, so because I only had like 3 minutes left when I was writing this down, so I pretty much just like wrote a Y2 in my final answer, but that's fine, it doesn't matter, and I think like it's who cares. Yeah, I mean, I technically had enough time to rewrite the last part, but I didn't want to risk it or anything. So yeah, this gives me a 21, and I was pretty happy with this because like for whatever reason, like even though the scramble looked easy, it wasn't. And like, yeah, I mean, a bunch of other people didn't do very well on it either, so pretty happy to have this result. Okay, so this second scramble is one of the worst scrambles I've ever gotten in competition. Um, there were 10 bad on green front, and the other two axes had 8 bad, and I'm pretty sure I only wrote down like 10 EOs total, like it were less than 6 moves, because it was just that bad. I couldn't find anything. But interestingly, despite how bad it is, there was actually a 4 move EO among like one of the 10 that I wrote down. So here it is. On this axis, on white front, you see that there's 8 bad edges, and you notice that 3 of them are in front. So if I do F and then U, if I bring this bad edge here and I do a U move, you can kind of track what the remaining ones are, which are these 4, right? And you notice that 3 of them have white and one of them isn't white, and it's not like stuck between any of these other 2 ones. So if I do F and then U, it reduces it to 4 bad, and on the inverse, I know that it's going to be a 2 more moves to get EO. So this is a 4 move EO, right? So what I did was, of course, I switched, and then just as I thought, these 3 edges are bad, and this one's here, so I just need to do R and then U to get EO done in 4 moves. But the RZPs from here didn't look good, so what I did was I switched back to normal. And by the way, this scramble was so bad that I was missing, like I was trying to find like every single 6-2 RZP and missing all of them. And I was even missing like 5 move EOs just because of how few of them there were. So yeah, like, pretty desperate on this one. So switch back to normal, do F and then U. And if you look at red DR, you see that there's this pair over here and then like this pair. So what you can do is do R prime, B prime to reduce it to 4C2E in 6 moves. And 4C2E in 6 is usually not a good case at all, but like I was just very desperate and I just was trying to find like every single thing I could possibly find. So I mean, honestly, at this point I was even willing to take like a 13 move DR that had like 2 quarter turns or something, right? So I really didn't have many options. So switching back to inverse after this, I did, of course, undo the R and U, and then I got really lucky here because you see there's this thing going on and then this pair, and I noticed that I have this. So all I have to do is just do L prime to connect this corner to this block, and then this corner very nicely fits into here with U2. So I've already set up to the trigger, and then all I need to do is, let's see, F, D2, F to get DR in 11 moves. And checking the corner case, I realized this is a 2 quarter turn DR, so that's really, really good. 11 to 2 quarter turns I'm more than happy with this on a scramble like this. So what I did next was, oh, by the way, it's also 4C2E, which is like, 4C6E, but it's the same as 4C2E, which is like super amazing. But anyway, I did like, so 4C6E, right? So let's look at the oriented pieces instead. So I have this, like these two, and then these two. So if you do U2, it sets up this really long like L-shaped thing, and then with this single corner, and then B2 to set up the trigger, and then all you have to do is R, D2, L to get HTR in 16 moves, right? But unfortunately, the finish wasn't that great from here. So what I just did was U2 to like form this big block, and then I just connected this thing to this edge, like F2, D2, F2, then D2, then the rest just solves. So R2, F2, R2. So that's an 8 move finish from a 16 to HTR, which gives me a 24. I think I found this at like 40 minutes, and then I tried really hard to find other stuff, but like I couldn't really find anything else. And actually the optimal for this DR is 23, but like it's a bit weird because you have to like adjust this trigger by doing like B, F2 or something like that. But like I wasn't thinking of trying that because I was just thinking like, let's just find another DR or something. Maybe there's a 12 move DR with an 11 move finish or something. So I was trying to find other DRs rather than like work on this one. But anyway, like 24 is good, and honestly like I was really trying very hard to find something on this because there was a good chance that one of the other people could find something like let's say I got a 27 on this, then like it's possible that Lewis or one of the other competitors could get like a 25 or a 24 just by being a bit lucky, let's say. I mean, I did get lucky here, but whatever. Yeah, then like there was a good chance that I could lose national champ or something. So like it was really important that on this attempt I get something decent, and I did. So like that's really nice. Okay, so this is the inverse of the final scramble. Doesn't matter. There were 8 bad edges on green, 6 on, and then the other two had 6. So again, not a very nice scramble, but okay. So I did great. I did pretty okay on it. So let me show you what I did. So on the inverse, if you look at red front, there's 2 bad edges here, 2 here, and 2 here, kind of like this. I think the most common EO people would find on this would be like F prime and then R, and then that's a 5-move EO. But there's actually like a few more which are not so obvious. So if you do L2, it kind of puts these 2 edges here, and then you realize that these 2 edges are kind of nicely set up to go in, and then it's a 3-move EO from here. So L2F sets up this like 3-move 6-bat case, and then L prime B2 R prime will solve red EO. Looking at this axis, I didn't see very much, but what I did see is that you can do like UD to turn it into 4E4C, and this sounds deranged, but like I thought this might be good because okay, so looking at this edge, you see that this corner has these 2 colors like green and orange touching the E slice, and there's a green and orange edge here. You see that this corner has yellow and blue on the E slice, and this edge is yellow and blue. This means that, oh, also there's this yellow and blue corner over here which matches this one as well. So this means that when I nis, there will be a 1x1x3 column and a pair. So like there's a pretty good chance that this might be a really short DR if I nis. And also, if you change the EO to like, let's say R prime U to L or something, and the UD RZP still works. So there's a lot of variation here as well. So I figured it might be worth nissing this, so that's what I did. So if you nis to normal, indeed you see like there's this one long block over here, this corner, but the problem is that, you know, this case doesn't really work very well. So a bit unfortunate that it didn't work, but just by chance what I saw is that on white DR, if I do F, it actually does an RZP as well. RZP in 6, but again you see this edge is yellow and blue, and there's a yellow and blue like corner here that touches the E slice, and then this is white and green, and there's a white and green one touching the E slice as well. So again, if I switch back after this F, there will be 2 pairs on the inverse, so I figured, you know, there's a good chance that this might be a short DR. I don't have a cube. I'll set it up when I... Okay, so switching back to inverse, if we do the EO, you see that, yep, just as I thought, 2 pairs, and what's even better is that these 2 corners are perfectly set up to form both the blocks at the same time. So, oh, another thing here to note is that you see that there's nothing on the M slice, right? This means that if I change this EO to the other variation, or even like do random stuff on the M slice, it still gives me the same like 4-move setup to DR. So that's something to take note of. U prime D, B prime. And then this is a 4B3, so it's alright. Wait, no, sorry, this is a 4A3 on the inverse. So, you know, it's a 10-move DR to 4A3, which is okay. And on this scramble, I also had 2 other 4A3s from a 4-move EO that I found, but I'm kind of lazy to show you that, so it's alright. Okay, so what I saw next was, okay, so what I did was I tried to do HDR here, of course, but it didn't really work, didn't really give me anything. So I switched to normal, and then do the F, and then I saw that if I just do D prime, like D prime, it turns this, okay, so it's 4B3 on this side. So if I do D prime, it turns it into 4A3, and it's 4E4C. So I figured, okay, let's try to switch back to inverse and see if I can get anything from here. Okay, so I switched back to the inverse, and this case is actually already set up to like the 4A2 trigger, but the problem is that this doesn't give anything. I tried it, so like the 15 to HDR I get from this, nothing. It was really bad. But sorry, not 15. The 16 to HDR I got from this, nothing. But of course, I remembered like there was the little thing I could do to extend the trigger, like the DR, right? Like adjust the M slice. I tried using the other EO variation, couldn't get anything. But then I tried doing an M2 because doing an M2 here actually cancels one with the EO. So okay, R2, L2, and then we rebuild the thing, F prime, and this is now an 11 move DR. And looking at the case, because we already have that 1/4 turn done on normal, right? So it's still set up to the trigger, so that's interesting. So what I can do is do a D to reduce it to 4A1, just the normal 1/4 turn 4E4C, and then I can connect this corner to this pair here like this. This is how the 5-move trigger works, and then U2, F2 to form this big face, and then D prime to get HTR in 17 moves. And then what I saw was that just by doing one F2, I am left with 2E plus the E slice. And what's even better is that 2E plus E slice is 18. And what I saw was that if I just track it like past this part into the normal part, it does a D. So I can just do like F2, D2, F2, D2, F2, D2 here to leave me with E slice. That will cancel 2 moves because it cancels the D and the F. And that's E slice in 22. Right, so let's see how we can solve the slice. Okay, so I set up the case and the E slice looks like this. So let's just double check that it works. D2, F2, D2, F2, D, F2, D, D2, R2, D prime. Yeah, indeed we get E slice, right? So I undid some moves. Okay, no, I undid all the way to the start. Let's try, okay, so we can do D2, F2. Let's just do that. And then here, I figured that doing D white to F2 is a better idea. This is like kind of trial and error really, no real reason why. And then what I did was D F2 again. And now this is a very interesting case because this is the blocky fish case, right? So we don't actually have to follow. Okay, so you see the skeleton here says D, right? So you might think like, oh, we have to do a D, no choice. But then like that doesn't solve the slice in 0, right? But actually what you can do is instead of doing a D, you can actually do U prime instead because it still like creates the same block. And this actually finishes the rest of the skeleton by adding 0 moves. So by using blocky fish, we managed to like create a +0 on this leaf slice skeleton, which is really good, and that gives me a 22 on this pretty hard scramble. So I was pretty happy with this, and this scramble actually gave me a tight mean with Fush, but then because I got a 21 on the first solve, I beat him by single, so I won FMC at this comp as well. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, so this solve, quite happy with it. It's quite complicated. It involves like a lot of nissing and like extending and stuff. So quite happy with this. By the way, the other EO variation in the same DR actually has a 21 optimal, but it uses like 5 Qs. So like screw that. Never mind. This is great. I'm happy with this.